everybody. Thank you for joining our live today for the Umoja Unity Series. We are so excited to bring this to you today. And our host is going to be Miss Emma Muema.
Thank you, Shaman. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Mark Foundation First Umoja Unity Forum series. My name is Emma Muema. I'm a scholar and researcher in organizational leadership and policy. I will be the moderator today, and Shaman Wells will be my co-host. I would like him to introduce himself.
Well, I'm Sherman Wells, founder and owner of Untamed, which is a unified nation taking action, mentally erasing deception. And that deception that we erasing is that we can be together, working together. So we got to erase the deception. So that's why I'm excited to be a part of this Unity Forum series. And I love the people that we have on here today. I think this is our third time having a forum. And so, yeah, we'll get right into it, Miss Emma.
Thank you. Thank you, Shaman. The Umoja forums are aimed at increasing unity, collaboration, and synergy between African Americans and African immigrant communities in the Midwest. We will host a series of online forums and live events that will provide a safe and inclusive space for dialogue and discussions between our two communities.
Yes.
Our discussion topic tonight is leadership, wealth, and well-being. To start us off, I would like to invite our panelists to briefly introduce themselves and to tell us how their various roles and responsibilities relate to the subject of our discussion today. To start us off, I'll invite Dr. K.
Thank you so much. Hi, I am Dr. Karen Kassabaum. I am the founder of Athlete to Athlete. I am also the Senior Manager for Diversity and Corporate Social Responsibility at Huddle. Working in the diversity, equity, and inclusion, accessibility, and belonging space can have a direct impact on your mental, emotional, physical well-being. And then especially being just Black, African American, can be very challenging. Yeah, so that's my introduction.
Thank you, Dr. K. William?
Hello, my name is William King. I'm the founder of Media King Communication. We provide internet infrastructure, and then also I'm the CEO of Omaha Community Broadcasting. We operate 95.7 The Boss radio station here in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm feel very privileged to be part of this opportunity to bridge gaps. I've always been that that spokesperson, even in college when I went to school with white people that never went to school with Blacks, and I went to school with Blacks that never went to school with whites. And so we got to have people that bridge gaps. And so I'm glad to be here, and I look forward to the dialogue.
Thank you. Mariam?
Hello, everyone. My name is Miriam Serno. I am the CEO and founder of Let Us Talk About It Coaching. And the mission of my company is to empower youth, young professionals, and immigrants to navigate the system effectively and unlock their full potential. Thank you so much for having me here on this forum. And, I'm so happy to be discussing about the next generation's leadership, health, and well-being. And also, my desired role as a life coach, as a life development coach, and my commitment is to help the youth grow and believe in their dreams to the fullest potential. And I came about this idea because of my own experience in coming to America at 9 years old and being a part of both worlds, African and then being African American, and really trying to be accepted in my own community, and also trying to find my path through culture and my upbringing. So that was the reason why I decided to create Let Us Talk About It Coaching.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone to our discussion. We'll start with our first question this evening, and I'll ask Dr. K to just tell us how do African Americans perceive leadership in their communities and at work, and how does that look like for, you know, different generations, if you can speak to those?
Okay, I was thinking about this question, and I was saying that, of course, I can only speak for myself as an African American, in relation to how I perceive leadership in the community. I do recognize that many leaders in the community, who are not people of color, who are not African American, um, that they are tapped for some roles of leadership, and they aren't given the tools that they need to actually do the leadership, right? And I do recognize that this happens for a lot of people, but I've seen it happen more for Black and Brown folks, in that they're tapped to leadership, but don't have the tools, or and then also aren't. Um, I don't like the word imposter syndrome, but don't have enough self efficacy to ask for what they need, because there's an assumption that they should be able, right? And I think this happens for other races and identities and intersectionalities as well. But I have seen it play out in the African American space.
Okay. William, would you want to contribute to that same question on your perception of the African American leadership in the community and at work?
Uh, that's a very interesting question, because sometimes those that are leading really don't get the credit. Right now, a lot of people are yes, put in leadership based off of their jobs, or if they have political status. But we have leaders like Sherman that was, proactive during the COVID, where other people were at home. So leadership is based off of myself, those that are actually doing the work, versus those that have a certain status or a certain position. We tend to, look towards the reverend or the politician as our leader, and rightly so, because in the past they have like people like Frederick Douglass or my cousin now, Martin Luther King. And so, um, but leadership spans in all areas of our community, and we should look at leaders in that perspective. And so that way, not one person or two people can be targeted because they are labeled our so-called leaders.
Thank you. Shaman, you are a community leader. What would be your experience with leadership as a community leader?
So me personally, I don't like to claim titles that I didn't create. And so people call me community leaders, but I'm just a brother who care. And the community appreciate and see the work that I do. And so they give me that title. And so when I'm in the community, I look at it as my extended family. And so it really don't feel like work, because I want what's best for my family. And so I want what's best for my community. And so my experiences, though, there are, when you talk about being in the community consistently, there is I think there's the people who's there for the right reasons, and then there's people who's there for money reasons. And so for me, when I run into those issues sometime, people might think it's causing a separation, but I kind of feel like the separation was created when you was there for the wrong reason. And so I tend to try to stay connected to the grassroots, to the people, the off the grid people who I think really need the help, and the people who come in for the help.
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Mariam, from listening to, first tell us about the perspective of the African immigrant and how they perceive leadership in the United States, because they come into a different community. What is your take?
Your mic is muted.
Sorry about that, guys. So my experience actually is not really about the take or what I've heard. I've been in places where a lot of African immigrants don't consider themselves as leaders in this country because they feel like they're not smart enough, or they don't speak the language, or they can't do what they really want to do. So they accept being just who they are. And a lot of times too, when a lot people also associate themselves, as I think William King said, they uh, give leadership a title. And some people think that if you have a certain title, that means you're a leader. But I do believe that leadership is about getting up every day and doing something, and it's about actually doing something for your community, like someone else has also mentioned. So I believe that leadership is about who you are and what you want to do, and getting up every day and doing what you have to do. That's what I perceive as leadership.
What would you say are some of the challenges that cut across both the African American and the African immigrants in leadership?
For I believe that for African Americans, I can't really speak for African Americans, but I can actually speak for African immigrants because I was once an immigrant. I still am. We take leadership and look at it as power, right? We feel like leadership is power. So if you have a certain title, for example, I'm going to just say manager. So if I've seen a lot of African immigrants in fast food restaurant, when they're managers or a supervisor, they feel like it's a big title, and it's power, even if they're getting paid $10 an hour, right? And they're so proud to say, I am a manager at this place and that place, and I'm a supervisor. But leadership, like as I mentioned before, leadership is about doing something that you love, I believe, and it's also about doing something every single day. It's not necessarily being a manager, a CEO, a supervisor, or any of that. But the society makes you believe that in order to be a leader, you have to have a certain title. So that's what I think of as leader for African immigrants.
Dr. K.
So, again, I like Nicole Perry. She commented, she says she's asking your own perspective on leadership in the Black community today. So I want to speak to that just a little bit, and the fact of, like, when I think about leadership in the Black community, I think about we are not uniting as well as we should be, right? Black and African American and brown, all the brown folks and Black and brown folks, we should be uniting and working together to level and elevate each other, and love on each other, right? And we could make a difference if we would actually work together instead of living in what society has done to us and polarized us and pulled us apart. If we would unite, wow, it would be a different America.
Thank you. Thank you. That is what Umoja stands for. Umoja is a Swahili word that means one.
Right.
One.
And so Nicole is actually tuning in from Chicago. Shouts out to Chicago.
Yes.
And, like she said, she's asking what's your own perspective on leadership in the Black community. In other words, what's missing from the formalities the Black Panther Party had in comparison to today. And I think, when you look at that in comparison to today, I mean, I don't believe that we have a lot of revolutionary, when you talk about Black people, it's a lot of fitting into the formality of what society has already created. We're not going outside the box and creating our own things. And like she said, Dr. K, if we was to come together, I mean, there would be no choice but to agree. And like the political parties, they would have to come to terms of what we need as a people, because we're not going to move without moving with each other. And that's real power to me. It's not the elected position. It's how we move and take care of each other and go towards the same common goals when you talk about social status and economic status in the Black community. So,
yep, as we mentioned, it takes a village.
Yes.
To make something happen. One person can't do it on their own. So we have to unite and stick together like glue in order to make a difference in our community. And I think that a lot of communities do lack that,
Yeah. And I think too, if we keep having these kind of dialogues, we can open up the eyes of the other people who may not think that is actually happening or people want to see it. And the more we talk, we're going to bring in our tribe and the people who's here for this very moment to unite us. So I want to give another shout out to all of y'all for joining this conversation and even being a part of it, because sometimes it's a tough topic to cover, you know?
That's true. That's true. I mean, looking at the workplace, the workplace is very different depending on the different sectors, and some of the challenges are very different and unique per sector. Dr. K, I think you have worked in different sectors, and I was just wondering whether you would want to share some of those challenges you may have seen across some of those sectors.
So when you talk about differences,
Just the sectors, and some challenges.
So I've worked in very predominantly white environments my entire career, and yeah, I've worked in jobs where I've been the first, I've been the only, I've been lonely. It has been challenging. I have needed counseling, mental health days. I have needed and wanted support. And when you work in a space where you are the only and you only see you, not just as a female, because I see other females of other identities and intersectionalities and races, but when you're the only Black person in a space, it can be very challenging and can be very wearing on your mental and emotional health. In my space, in many of the spaces I've been in, it's almost of coming in and having to prove myself. I think that's one of the biggest challenges where I have a PhD. I've done the work. I have been in this industry over 20 years. And in some spaces, you still feel like you have to prove yourself, assimilate. Yeah, it can be very challenging.
William, as a community leader, what do you feel as an advocate, trying to push to get, people to accept you as a leader? How has that been for you?
Well, I think the only way to be a leader is to be consistent. Just be consistent.
We're losing you. Sorry.
You're mute.
You're mute, Shaman.
No, he's not on mute. He froze.
Oh, no, Will. No, I said right when he was talking about be consistent, his internet was inconsistent.
That's a good one. Thank you.
He's just still sitting there like,
Thank you so much. Okay, let's go to the next question as we get William back on.
I wanted to touch base on what Dr. K said really quick.
Yes.
Okay. And Dr. K, thank you for sharing what you've shared. I just want to let you know that I can relate to what you were talking about. I worked at Wall Street at a very young age. I think I was in my 25 years old at a law firm. And I was the only Black woman on that floor. And I was targeted by this white male every single morning for 1 year. He just had to see me just to call me the B word. And one day I said to him, I said, why do you keep calling me that? He said, you don't belong here and you're not going to even be a lawyer and you're not studying law and other people deserve this position. And even besides from that, I've worked and been in other places where I had to come into this room full of 10 men and actually, because I worked in human resource too, actually gave a speech or tell them how to do what they're supposed to do in terms of rules and regulations. And I kid you not, I can just watch all of these men looking down on their phone and not listening to me at all. And one day I had told them, I said, I'm speaking to you. Can you just give me a little bit of respect and just talk to me in there? And then one man actually said to me clearly, you're a woman. What do you have to bring to the table? So I can sit here and tell you this story for years about how lonely I felt in most of the places I've been at because I was the only woman, because I'm Black, because I'm Muslim, and just simply because they don't think I belong. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that really touched me. So thank you for sharing. And I hope anyone who's listening today, any woman who's listening today should know that they're enough and they are where they belong because they fought to get there and they deserve the place that they're at. They deserve the space that they're at, you know. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
sharing. Thank you. Thank you. Um, let's move on to the next question and just, what is the perspective of the next generation, especially for the African immigrants, on leadership, and how does that differ from the current leaders or our generation and the next generation? How do we see that? Are the expectations very different? Are we passing the baton to a group that expects the world in one day? Mariam.
Thank you for giving me that question. So I have a lot to say. This generation is they feel very privileged and they believe that leadership is gained overnight, and leadership is not gained overnight. Leadership is built throughout time, right? And nowadays leadership is actually who has the most like on Instagram and who has the most like in Facebook and who has the best page and who has the best this. It's about being a celebrity nowadays. So anyone who wants to be a leader wants to either be on TV, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever network that's out there. So if you don't have over a million followers, you're not a leader. So it kind of puts shadow on those who are actually doing the real work and who are sweating and really doing the community work as we're mentioning today, opposed to those who are sitting behind the internet and just doing whatever they're doing and getting paid for it. And that makes them feel entitled too, because it's like, okay, I'm making money to sit behind my desk and do whatever shenanigan I want to do. And that's what a leader means, because I have also come across other YouTube channels that are inspiring, that are engaging, that, we can listen to better ourselves, but they have less followers and less like. But the other YouTubes that are talking about God knows what, everyone is following them and calling them a leader. So I think that leadership is has the generation changes, it gets more scary. But I believe that conversations like this can put a light on what an effective leader is, because anybody can be a leader, right? But we need an effective leader, an effective leadership, and understand that it takes time to build that leadership.
Thank you, Mariam.
You're welcome.
William, welcome back.
Well, thank you. Well, Sherman mentioned it earlier. Usually, our leadership came from the church, but the church is being paid off. Ministers get paid through legislation now, so everybody is getting a stipend. Also that there's a fear because our last leadership got assassinated when they were strong, and you see stuff happen over in Africa, with the CIA and taking out leadership and stuff like that. When it comes to Black people, I think in a cellular level, that there's a fear of being killed because that's what happens. However, sometimes I ask God, and I talk to God because I'm a mere man marcher. I said, God, is it time to die? And that's by the adjectives and verbs that I speak. And since I own a radio station, um, and I grew up in the hood, and I'm a probation officer. I can swing in both societies. I'm a Democrat, but Republicans give me more love because I speak the truth that the Democrats was the original slave party, and so some people are tough with me telling the truth. But I come from a mama that couldn't read and write, and I had to read to her every day. And I learned earlier that failure is not an option. So my leadership comes actually from my parents, from my ancestors, because I took my mom to the plantation before she lost her total memory due to dementia, and she hadn't been home to Sumner, Mississippi, where they freed those two brothers that killed Emmett Till. And so my mama grew up in deep, deep racism, but yet she didn't pass on the burden to me to hate white people. So I consider that leadership when you don't pass on burdens on to your children. Um, um, Also, I look at leadership in regards to not abandoning your family and sacrificing for your family. To me, that's leadership. I judge things by the intangibles because I grew up in the projects that our word was bond, and today they need contracts because they lie, cheat, steal, and so to me that is leadership, and that's what I preach every day on my radio station because I consider we are a research radio station, the only one in the world, and our goal is to modify our behavior so we're better individuals, better family members, and better citizens. So today we call it Winning Women Wednesday. Every Wednesday we recognize the women in our lives because my mama was 5'5", no jive, and we ain't gonna have no problems on my block without a doubt. And so, and I know, and I learned earlier, she was my first competitor because when I couldn't read a word, she said, cause my nickname was Man, but when I didn't know a word, she said, boy, why am I sending you to school? I said, dang, my name ain't no boy. I mean, because she was my first challenger, so I had to go back to school and learn that word. My name ain't boy, my name is Man.
Okay.
And so my mama is my ancestors is the real leadership, and I stand on the backs of many because by owning a radio station, I have a total responsibility of being only 85% saved now. So don't I ain't saying I'm perfect, but I'm 85% saved.
Okay.
And you got to have a sense of humor because life is too short, and every time you smile, it releases endorphins that create healing. So leadership comes from family. My leaders is my mama and my daddy. Because my daddy always told me to go straight because he's Air Force. So anytime somebody come to me crooked, I can recognize those brothers and sisters. Because my daddy always told me to go straight. So leadership actually comes from your family. It comes from the wholesale moms and dads and uncles and nieces, and those surrogate mothers and fathers that didn't birth you, but they love you like a mama or a daddy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, William. Kai, would you like to talk about the next generation and how they perceive leadership, Dr. K?
Oh my God, that I just have to say, what both of you said had me on fire over here. I was like, yes, yes. I was like, William has to be from the shy. Woo, woo, woo. Like, I was like, because we used to say, word is your bond, all the time. That's fire.
Right.
Like,
That's what Nicole said. Yeah, it's true. Word is
the
bond.
word is bond. Yeah. And I just want to just say thank you. Like, that just brought it back for me when we talk about generation and the things you were saying. What I think too about my generation, everything that both of you said encompasses that, right? But I also think about like my generation of like I was told, go to work, all right, keep your head down. You have to do more work than anybody else because you black. You have to get all the degrees and all the certificates because you're black, right? And do what they say, and be pretty much like almost like saying behave, right? And don't get fired. And my mother always used to tell me like, don't you quit a job until you got another job. Like we don't do that in our family, right? So that's that generation, my generation. But I think about the generation now, and what I've noticed is that they are asking for more money right away as soon as they walk in the door. They are asking for mentorship. When I was growing up, we didn't get no mentors. It was like sink or swim. They want sponsorship. They want somebody speaking for them in the space so they can get elevated. They want to work 6 months and they want a new title and money, more money, more money, more money.
Yep.
Oh, Shaman.
Yeah, I think when you talk about leadership now compared to then, I think now I call this next generation the birth of the army. I know a lot of people talk about how violent they are and the things, but I think they were here to set the precedent for us that we're not turning the other cheek anymore. We see through all the games and all the lies and all the stuff you've been doing, and this new generation, they not gonna deal with that no more. And we, as the generation before them, we are like the generals, right? So we're called to the mission, but are we going to accept it? Are we going to be scared of this next generation, or are we going to embrace them and give them the knowledge that we can pass and accept the fact that they are the new generation, right? You look at old model cars, they didn't even have power steering. And now they got all the bells and whistles. That's the new generation. They come with everything. And so we have to embrace it, accept it, and then uplift them and empower them to take on and push their new ideas and push their leadership skills. Like Brandy Collins, this new generation don't play about their money. No. And so they're not going to accept those 10-cent raises that we had to accept back then. You know what I mean? They're not going to accept somebody cracking a little wise joke about racism or something. It's just not going to happen with the birth of the Army. And so I respect them. I love them. I advocate for them. And that's why leadership for me in my generation is taking on the role of not being fearful of that new generation, but being there for them, even when it looked like all the odds are against them and everybody got something to say about them. We have to be there for them. Nicole Perry said COVID-19 did change on the minds of every individual who survived it. Yeah, it did. And during COVID-19, we had the George Floyd rallies and everything across the world, not just in one state. And so it showed us that we can come together. Brandy Collins, she said, I also feel like this generation will not accept BS and we must embrace them. 100% agree.
Yes.
I agree with that.
I mean, just, listening to you, and what goes through my mind is we have so many generations at the workplace right now, right? Even in the community, you will find different generations holding different roles in the community. How are we closing that gap, especially when we're making decisions and finding my worldview is so different from, the other leader who is from a different generation, but we have to move together.
Yes.
How do we get consensus? Because then we cannot even move forward in that one small space before we can say we can actually work as a tribe. William, what do you think?
I know for a fact we gotta be purposeful. I'm wearing this shirt on purpose. It says B&B, which stands for B&B Boxing Sports Academy, which is right around the corner, which train young people in boxing, MMA, wrestling. They're going to be expanding because they also tutor young people. They are our next generation, so it's up to this generation to provide conduits of opportunity in every category of business or whatever, or life. It's our responsibility as adults to develop conduits of opportunity. And then also we got to check those people that control music and audio and video, because back in the day when we were growing up, our TV shows were problem solvers. They had a problem at the beginning of the show. By the end, it taught you how to problem solve, and the problem was solved. These days, they leave cliffhangers.
That's true.
It's always somebody killing.
Mm-hmm.
Back, man. I miss Fat Albert. Bring back Fat Albert. Bring back Fat Albert, man. For real. And so, and then plus, I just got to coming from the playground. Leadership is going to play, and not forget where you come from. I was with a 2-year-old, and man, I had a great time. And so sometimes leadership is listening to the next generation. I don't care if they're 2 or 6 or 16 or 18. We got to spend some time. My grandson, he said something. I said, say it to me again. And you know what I mean? So that's leadership, man. We got to get back down to the basics. Family is the foundation of everything.
Yes.
Foundation to community. And so once we get back to that essence, we're always going to be looking and searching for leadership. It's like Moses. We wandering for 400 years, like we wandering.
Yeah.
Mariam, what do you have to say about that?
First of all, I want to what everyone said, I related to it so much in my head, and I'm so excited. I believe William said that we do have to listen to this current generation because everyone learns from everyone, right? And I think that this generation, when I think about it, sometimes I can't get mad at them for the way they are and what they do, because with this generation, if something happens to them at a workplace, they're ready to quit within a flash, because they're not about to sit there and just take anything from anyone. Like someone else mentioned too as well, this generation sees through the crack, right? And that's why the moment they're not afraid also to ask for more. They negotiate more. But the generation that was before, were scared to ask for a bigger salary, and they were scared to ask for certain things at a workplace. And this generation is just like, okay, if you want me, then this is what you're going to give me. So they're asking for what they want, opposed to just going to work and accepting, because if they see 35K a year while they apply for a job, they'll still apply for the job. But when they get there, they'll let them know, this is what I want. And when they don't give them what they want, they walk out. And they also don't quit. And they also don't wait till they get a new job to quit the old job. They're just like, no, I'll find a way. I'll go on Instagram and make some money, or TikTok and stuff like that. So they don't have time to wait. And I'm so good at saying this. I'm going to not embarrassingly say, I have done that before. I negotiate. I go to a job and they say, give me a salary, and I'm like, no, I don't want this. I just walk out. And I don't know how many jobs I've quit. I just be quitting jobs like I change my shoes, because if I go to work and I'm asking you for something and you want me to do X amount of work, and I'm looking at the job and my pay, so I'm asking you for what I think I'm worth. I'm not asking you for what you think I'm worth, right? Because I know what my values are. So I really respect this generation for that, because they're not afraid of anything. They're not afraid to quit. They're not afraid to be poor. They be like, you know what? I can't take it. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Next, so that's what I have to say about that. I'm proud of them, and we have to embrace them, because they are the leader of the future.
So I'm going to bring up something that we had not thought about, but I'm just thinking about the intersectionality of the sexuality that is changing as well in the workplace. And I just want us to just have a very short comment about it, and then we can go on to our next question about the well-being, of our leaders.
Yeah.
Dr. K.
Before I go to the intersectionality of identities and sexuality and all that, can I just say this, what I think would help with leadership, right?
Yes.
Or I think that with bringing us together, I think that we have to be intentionally inclusive.
Yes.
Right? Because we think that we're telling other people to be inclusive, right? We're talking to the majority. Yeah, y'all need to be more inclusive. Y'all need to include us more. Y'all need to think about us. But no, we need to be more inclusive, intentionally inclusive with each other. And we also need to grow our global growth mindset, because that will help us bridge those gaps you talked about earlier.
I like that. Let's talk about the well-being of our leaders. And maybe as we talk about the well-being, we can have, one or two sentences here and there, a take on the intersectionality of sexuality at the workplace and well-being, because that brings issues of mental health. And so maybe, Shaman, you would tell us what you think about the health and well-being of our leaders at the workplace.
Oh, man. Well, the health and well-being of a leader, I'm not ashamed to admit that sometimes I will let the things that I'm doing and engage in the community, I will overlook my own health to get that stuff done. And my daughter, she's 23, God bless her soul, she keep me on track. That is the girl version of me, and she tell me that if I'm not taking care of myself, I won't be able to take care of the people that I want to help. And so I always keep that in mind and make sure that I'm taking that time. Like William said, I went all day Sunday and spent time with the grandkids. But see, for me, I'm always in like a war mode. I feel like there's a fire going on upstairs and we see the flame and everybody downstairs just partying. And I'm like, man, don't y'all see this fire? And they like, just pass me the bottle. So sometimes it drives me crazy. Like I can't come out of the war mode and trying to figure out ways of making sure the young people are getting the information and stuff they need. And so I have to take into account of my own well-being. And so in leadership, sometimes I think we forget that. And then our leaders suddenly die from a simple ailment that could have been avoided. And there's nobody around them to tell them, because all they're wanting to do is suck in the information that that leader is able to provide, or the resource that that leader is able to provide, and not really looking at, hey, how's your day? What have you done for yourself? You know, so I think it's important. You know, I don't know why some of us are born with this passion to want to help others. It's not something you practice. It was placed in you. You didn't have to spend time going to school for that part. It was already there. And so sometimes it annoys you because you can't stop. And then, you know, that's how I feel. And sometimes I have to take a step back and be like, you know, I can only do so much. And I have to have more things like this where we're bringing in more people. It's like reinforcements. The army that God provided for us to be here at this moment in time to make these changes. We're here. It's just we don't all talk a lot. And so we have to have these kind of conversations where we talk more, we hold each other accountable. And then, like Nicole said, people need each other. We do need each other. No matter what, we need each other. So, yeah.
Dr. K.
Oh, wait. So are we talking about the tips?
Yeah, just about the well-being. How do we take care of ourselves?
Yes, I have this is my sweet spot right here.
Yes.
So for me, like, well-being is like, I think it's really important that people are allowed to bring, and I struggle with the word whole self to work, because I can't bring everything to work, but to be able to, I should be able to go to work and be my kind of authentic self, right? So I'm a Christian. I would say I put God first. People need, if they believe, have a believer, whoever their higher power is, give everything to that person, right? Then also I would tell people, like, get some counseling, practice mindfulness and self-love. We don't love ourselves enough, y'all. We just don't.
Speak on it.
Yes, and you need to protect your spirit and your heart, because it can just really take over when you're talking about, like, having a heart attack and not being healthy. We need to exercise, meditate. We need to go to those checkups, folks, right? Know your worth. I use motivational quotes. So I have motivational quotes on my cell phone, on my bathroom mirror, in my car. I listen to uplifting music every morning to get me going. And then I actually follow on social media. I try to follow positive stuff, not a lot of the negatives. You got to know, yes, what's going on in the world, but I follow more positive, because what you follow and put inside of you, that's how you react. And this is my last one, is surround yourself around people who truly care about you and your success and your well-being, and get away from those people that don't, because that's what kills you.
Right.
Thank you, Dr. K. William, how do you take care of yourself as a leader? How would you advise other leaders to take care of themselves in terms of health and well-being?
I thought I was preaching that, but okay. I would say, as a leader, take care of take care of yourself in relation to, like, know your worth, love, educate yourself, right? Take care of yourself that way. Be honest with yourself, like, true, know what you know and understand what you don't know. And be honest and develop others. I think that it helps sometimes when you're given a little bit to others, but not wholeheartedly everything, because you'll drain yourself. Those are just some of the things.
Thank you,
Tall
Dr.
Twin
K.
in the comments. She said, hello, brothers and sisters. Hey, Tall Twin. How are you doing?
Hey, Tall Twin.
Will?
So, Will, from the sermon that Dr. K gave, how much of that can you practice? We can't hear you. You're muted.
Not muted, but we can't hear you. No, we can't hear you.
Okay. Oh, we can't hear him. Okay, Mariam.
Okay, so Dr. K and Sherman, you have dropped the mic on this one. As a life development coach, it is so important to be in a good mental state, because I'm talking about my own experience. In order for me to serve others in my community or anywhere, especially as a life development coach, I need to be there. I need to be grounded. I need to be spiritually there. Now, spirituality and religion is different, right? But we have to understand that we really have to understand the difference between the two. I literally meditate every morning before coming down here to my office to read my email, to do anything that I want to do. And also, when I know, for example, my husband, he pisses me off in the morning. I don't know why he does that, knowing the kind of job that I do, but he does it. So when he does
That's
that, I
our
have to
job.
come down here, put some candles on, and burn some sage, do something. Like I said, is if spirituality is different from religion, and sit here and meditate and just loose out myself, because I cannot go and serve a client when I'm in a bad mood. Another thing is also, we have to be very careful of what we watch and the people we surround ourselves with. Like, for example, on my social media, Instagram or Facebook, I'm always following other positive things, other positive people, to be able to so they can uplift me, and as well as, encourage me to do better and be a better person, right? So I try to be very careful with what I watch, and even the conversations that I have. I try to be very careful with the conversations that I have, because what you say can always come back to you. So it's saying negative things all the time is not good. So to be a good leader, you have to really be careful who you also surround yourself with, because one negative comment can overpower a billion positive comment that someone said to you. One negative comment someone says to you can put you down so low, no matter how strong you are, no matter how self empowerment you are, no matter how motivated you are. It's very important to stay grounded, understand the things you know, and understand the things that you don't know, and also be open up to opportunities, be open up to learning and growing every single day, because being a part of a leader is consistent growth, right? And also, we have to understand that it's okay to ask people for help. It's okay to say you don't know, because as leaders, people don't always ask us if we're okay. People don't always ask us what we need, because they're looking at us as, okay, they're a leader, they know everything, so they're always coming to us for information and help. And so I told a friend of mine about a year ago, I said, no one actually asks me, Miriam, are you okay? They always just call me, girl, you know what happened to me? Like, so one day, and then I was okay with that. It was normal to me, until one day I was like, oh my God, people never ask me how I'm doing. And if they do, they're expecting me to say, yeah, I'm fine, everything is good, because they think that I'm perfect. Well, meanwhile, I cry more than they do. I just do it in the bathroom, and I don't do it in front of people. So I do think it's really important that, we are very aware of who we surround ourselves with and the things that we do in order to serve the community, ourselves, and to be there for our family. Because when we're not there because of high blood pressure and cholesterol and heart attack, we can't be that leader anymore and be there for who we want to be there for.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. William, sorry, go
I
ahead.
think,
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry. No,
I think
I was going to add on, Miriam. That was amazing. Just
Thank you.
what I was going to add on to that, when I was thinking about inclusion, and I was thinking about the leaders need to practice and learn how to be inclusive leaders.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do, is like learn how to be inclusive in your leadership style.
Yes.
Right.
That's true.
without a doubt. What I do to take care of myself, and I encourage others, I intermittent fast every day. I watch what I eat.
Yes.
Um, um, I usually fast from, I don't eat after 8 p.m. and I don't eat before 8 a.m. So I fast at nighttime so my body actually can rest. I try to get sleep. When I do work out, I usually just go to the steam room, and I usually exfoliate my skin. So I clean my skin, and also when you go into the steam room, it simulates the temperature. So I raise my body temperature, so anything that's in my body, it kills. And then also, our lungs are very important to life. And so I clean out my lungs by breathing in the small water vapors. And so that's one of the things that I do. I had COVID and pneumonia at the same time, and I recovered in about 5 days. And I attest to, because I go through that regimen. I raise my body temperature to simulate a temperature. So because you never know what enters our body, because our largest organ is our skin. Also on the mental health side, my degree is in behavioral science, so I'm always self-evaluating self to make sure that, like I said, I'm only 85% saved, so I'll be working on the 15%. uh, and so I try to surround myself around people that aren't yes men and yes women. I surround myself that are people that are critical of me. That means that they love me. Um, and then I practice telling the truth to myself, being honest with myself. Um, because if you're not honest with yourself, then man, you're doomed. You're doomed. And so I practice all those principles. I practice all those principles because if we don't work on the mental health, we surely can't work on the physical health. And all have to be, thank you, all have to be inclusive because it's necessary for longevity, and also to me it's a sign that you actually love yourself when you take care of yourself. um, it's a sign. And so I'll be looking at other people to see if they love themselves, and I know everybody got different bone structures.
Yeah.
So, so but everybody got to be in the best shape for them, because my grandkids, when they come to me, oh man, they're 2 and 6, they got expectations.
Right.
It's for real, and so I got to be there tomorrow. I got to be there tomorrow. So that means I got to take care of myself today.
Yes.
I like that. I like
Hey,
that.
Corinne said, great discussion. Hey, Corinne, how you doing?
So, Shaman, do you practice what has been preached to us?
Yeah, meditation is the key to my success. I have to at least every day, if it's not even just for 10 minutes, because of so many things that come my way. I can't handle it all. So sometimes I give it to the higher power, and I can get some answers on most of it right away. But sometimes it sits and it stools on me, and I have to, be able to meditate to realize that there is a higher consciousness that I can tap into for the answers that I can't receive from these earthly people. And I need that connection. I keep that connection because that's what made our ancestors so great, because they knew they had that connection. That's why it's still things that they done back then that still can't be explained to this day, because they had that connection. And we was put into a system that took us so far away from it, that now to consciously realize that we need that connection in order for us to thrive and survive as far as Black people, because that was the key to our success. So yeah, let me see what she's saying. Oh, I chimed in late. What's the topic of discussion? Right now, we're talking about well-being and the things that leaders can do for great leadership, Raquel. And so, yeah, I think somebody else has stated about raising other leaders, or being a leader that knows when to give somebody else the light and attention. So when we did our 20 weeks community engagement, where we were stationed in one area 20 weeks in a row, every Sunday 4 to 7, not only during that time did we feed the community and create a safe space for gathering, but we highlighted other people in the community that we thought that the children would get interest from, whether it was a lawyer, a doctor, a mechanic, because you want them to see that there's people in the community that look just like you and may have came from where you came from, but we can highlight them, and you'll get a chance to see that maybe that's something you want to be. And even when I did have the stage and we would do the pledge, I wrote a pledge and we would take the pledge, I would have the kids who I knew was the shyest come on up and speak. And so by the end of our engagement, we did a talent show, and one of the kids that never talked got up there and wrote a piece that he wrote. I mean, he spoke a piece that he wrote, and I was just so shocked that he did it in front of everybody when we could barely get him to talk. And now the leadership takes on is telling other people when they're wrong if they're doing something. When we was at the Bryant Center, and he would encourage people to pick up their trash if they threw it down, and we looking at him like, what, you telling people stuff, and so that's the leadership that he wanted to take on to keep the area clean. Let's see, Midland African Chamber. Hi everyone, love the meditation and self-care tips. How do you handle the negative self-talk in your community? Woo-hoo.
Okay.
Can I
Who
answer
wants to go?
Negative.
Okay. Dr. K.
Dr. K.
Oh, well, I was just about to put in, we just talked about this, and I was going to put it in the chat, but I think I only can put it in the private chat about stop calling it imposter syndrome, right? We're just high achievers, right? So own our greatness, right? Stop being like, I'm an imposter, even though you may feel like you are not good enough, but that's systemic. A systemic making
Absolutely.
that happen, right?
Absolutely.
That's not you. Own your greatness, live in your greatness, walk in your greatness, right? We are not imposters. We're smart. We're achievers. We are leaders, right? So I dropped the article in the private chat, and maybe you all could put it public, but we need to stop saying that. That's a systemic thing.
Thank you, Dr. K.
Let's see. Tall Twin. She said Friday 2 movie nights. It was amazing. Touched a lot of children and their parents. Yeah, we did movie nights down there where we would bring out a 25-foot screen, let the kids and the parents come down free and watch a movie. And we was out there 11, 12 o'clock at night, sometimes watching movie, playing basketball, feeding the people. And it was just to create the environment of engagement. So then we can build relationships. You start trusting each other. We can start strategizing. And then take off the negative stereotypes that was created to keep us separated, and they wasn't even created by us. And once you talk to each other, then you like, you know what? They're not as bad as somebody made it seem like they was gonna be,
Yeah,
So yeah.
Yeah.
Someone commented about about a negative self-talk, and I think that's very important. I just want to touch base on that for a minute.
Where is it at?
It was about,
here it is, right here.
Yes. So just a little bit about how negative self-talk can really affect your life. I used to be a professional negative self-talker. I woke up in the morning, just the things that came out of my mouth was negative. And once you say one negative thing in the morning, it drags through your day because you already put it out there in the universe, right? Or, whatever you believe in. So in order to actually get rid of negative self-talk, it takes time and it takes practice. And you have to understand that one positive self-talk can overrule, one negative self-talk can overrule 500 positive self-talk. So it is very, very important to just practice, saying positive things to yourself, having gratitude for what you have and having gratitude for what you don't have yet. And when you have gratitude for what you don't have, the universe brings those things to you. So it's all about, so remember how they say you are what you think. So when you have positive self-talk, it brings upon wealth, and it brings upon abundance as well. So it's very important to just practice positive self-talk. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you could say is, "Thank God I woke up today." When you wake up in the morning, have gratitude for that one thing that you are happy for that day, and believe me, the rest of your day is going to go well.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We've come to the end of our show tonight. Yes, I would like to thank our panelists today, Dr. K, William King, and Mariam Sano,
Yes.
and my co-host, Sherman Wells. Our next event will be on October 18th. So stay tuned. And so now I will let our panelists just say one word as we close.
Oh, one word. Oh.
Just a
inclusion.
One sentence.
Oh, I was going to say inclusion.
Thank you.
I would say longevity.
Okay. Mariam?
Believe.
Thank you.
Yes. I want to make sure that I let y'all know that I did add that link to the chat. So if you go in the video chat, if you're on Facebook, you can click that link and see what she was talking about, where it says stop telling women they have imposter syndrome. And my word or words would be just love yourself. Love cures everything. I know sometimes people say, when I say that, well, what if somebody's doing something to you? How do you cure that with love? Well, you do it with self-love, because you remove yourself from that person, because you know you love yourself enough that you don't want to tolerate it. So just remove yourself. That's the self-love, and that's how you're going to end that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. And she said, thank you to the amazing panelists and hosts for sharing your amazing insights. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you to everybody in the chat who chimed in. Tall Twin, Nicole Perry, all of y'all that joined in, Raquel, Corinne, Linda, Brandy. Man, we appreciate y'all asking those extra questions and your input. And we will see y'all on October the 18th when it's time for that next conversation. And we will notify y'all, and we'll put up something on Facebook. If you follow the Midland African Chamber page, if you haven't already, go ahead and do that now. That way you can stay updated with these conversations, okay? Peace, love, and hair grease.